Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. I was just perusing the internet and came across this tweet from Ricada Media, Nick Ricada, where he says the video game industry hates you and wants you to know it. And I was like, Nick, what are you talking about? Because I can see a picture, of course, of Ellie from The Last of Us part... Okay, let's move on. And the article that he's referring to is The Last of Us 2 breaks Game of the Year record. Or as the true title is, The Last of Us 2 breaks worst Game of the Year record. So let's get into it. The article goes on. The Last of Us 2 has collected more Game of the Year awards than any other game in history. Last year, when as many as 576 total awards were doled out, The Last of Us 2 managed to nab 300 of them. Oh my God! Meaningless. Utterly meaningless. Now, over the course of time, video game awards have become more and more meaningless simply due to the fact that games media is working in correlation with the video game industry. They no longer serve who the true customer is, which is us. No, they pander to their Activisions, they pander to their Naughty Dogs, they pander to their EAs because they want access. This is why they're called access media. The more you kiss ass, the more you play the game, the more you string along the way that they want you to, the more access you will get. You'll get interviews with people. You'll get taken on trips. You'll have shown around the studios and tours. That's the word. You'll have tours of the studios. You'll get freebies. You'll get merchandise. You'll get little presents. Oh, thank you. We just wanted to thank you for your kind words about our video game. Thank you very much, corporation. So as time has gone on, it's become more and more meaningless. And once upon a time, games media actually did serve the customer. Regardless of whether or not it was the official PlayStation magazine or a third party like Edge or Games... what was it called? Games Internet, whatever it was. Which I used to collect as well. Those magazines, even though they would have some affiliation, even the official ones would kind of give you an honest answer. Edge specifically got themselves a great reputation as a magazine that would give you the truth of a game. Even PlayStation magazines, they would give 6s and 7s to their own games if they weren't up to par. And of course, they did look upon their games a little bit more favorably, and certainly wrote about them a little bit more favorably than they would if they were a third party. So there was at least some integrity that went on. And as I mentioned, as time has gone on, that has eroded and eroded as the level of journalists, as the Quartering would say, has now turned into urinalists. They're dog shit. For the most part, they're dog shit. Their articles are absolute tripe. They bring activism into gaming where it isn't warranted. They try and destroy the element of escapism. But most importantly, for some bizarre reason, they want to pit themselves against the very people who are meant to be purchasing these products. It's a very narcissistical attitude that they would write, belittle, shame, make up names about gamers and expect them to turn around and go, they're right, you know. My goodness me, they're right, you know. I'm going to heed the words of Kotaku and all these fucking shit magazine areas, and I'm going to take it like I should. I'm going to become an activist now. Yeah! Fuck off. Gamers, we're a special breed of people. We don't take narc shit. There's no reason to take narc shit, particularly off somebody who's uneducated, somebody who is underqualified, somebody who doesn't serve the interest of the customer whatsoever. And The Last of Us Part 2 was the prime example of that. You speak to people before that game came out, and as a unit, as a unity, you would be hard-pressed to find somebody that would be critical of the first Last of Us game, myself included. Why? Because the first Last of Us game was genuinely a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece of storytelling, a beautiful story between a surrogate father and a surrogate daughter. Something that everyone could relate to, put into a horrible world and a horrible environment where more often than not, things went wrong. People died, friends died, family died, loved ones died, daughters died, parents died. And the game was so touching and moving as the relationship between these two characters, two broken characters, developed. You couldn't help but fall in love with Joel and Ellie. You really couldn't. And by the end of the game, you were fully supportive in Joel when he went and saved Ellie's life as she went under the knife against a group of people who couldn't necessarily be trusted, nor would they have the capacity to produce and distribute a vaccine that would go around and protect people from this pollinating disease which had now spread across the world. He had a second chance to save his daughter, and he did. And at the end of the game, I think it was pretty obvious that even Ellie knew what he had done. And that was the kind of beauty of it. When they announced the sequel, of course, we were all a little concerned because when you have such a masterpiece of The Last of Us Part 2, there's always going to be that element of concern. But at the same time, there was a massive level of excitement. Excitement that even a game as good as this is going to get a sequel. We've got a story. We've thought of a story. We think this story's good enough. And we're going to now produce a sequel for The Last of Us Part 2. People were excited. They weren't negative. They weren't pitchforks at Naughty Dog. They were excited. It was announced to rapturous cheers. And people all around, again, including people like myself, so excited to see the next journey. Now, it was announced early doors that Ellie would now be the protagonist in this venture and Joel would be the secondary character. Okay. They already described that it was going to take place 5 or so years later. And so Ellie would be around about 18, 19 years of age. So you're like, okay, so we're now going to see the point of view of a more mature, a slightly more grown up, going into adulthood Ellie, and how she's dealing with things, life, her relationship with Joel, etc. So there was, again, no massive alarm bells. You know, we like playing as Joel, but, you know, we kind of thought, well, there'll be segments of the game where we'll probably play as Joel, just like there are segments of the first game where you actually play as Ellie. There was nothing to worry about, per se. There was nothing to get concerned about than the natural concerns of, oh my goodness me, can they live up to the expectations of the first game? The only real time that there were some concerns is when the game was consistently delayed, and when we started to hear about crunch and unhappy employees, and you don't like to hear about that sort of stuff. But then the crushing bit came out, as it appeared one of these unhappy employees, and please, even though they tried to bury the story and say this was a third-party person, no. This was somebody within Naughty Dog that leaked it out. They leaked the story out because they thought it was dour and awful and people wouldn't like this. And do you know what? The reception was pretty much as he said. And when the story came out we were just face palming because suddenly this franchise, which had started off so strong, which had started off in a way that everybody could relate to, because you had this family relationship and the difficulties that you can have relating to your parents, relating to adults when you're younger, and also as an adult relating to youth and how they manage to develop their relationship. Everybody can relate to that. Suddenly we were presented with the most pathetic load of social justice warrior activism shite that was so fucking embarrassing. My eyes did a 360 and came back on itself. It rolled that much. Where you started hearing that, well, actually, it's also a bit of a bait and switch because Ellie's not really going to be the main protagonist. It's going to be shared by some butch, potentially trans character. And this is all set, remember, 25 odd years after the fall of mankind. And we saw the images of a... And then we were told, no, this isn't a trans character. This is just a very muscular female. Okay. But there was going to be a trans character. 25 years deep into the apocalypse, where people are thrifting to survive. They don't even know if they're going to survive the day. Finding food, finding shelter, finding water, finding a community that can be trusted. Suddenly we were going to be like, oh my God, like, I'm like, really need to like, be heard now? Okay. And then when the game actually came around, and the way that they handled that was so clumsy and pathetic, and that character came across as so self-centered that they ended up getting their sister killed. Meanwhile, the Adventures of Ellie didn't prove to be a bundle of fun either, as suddenly she just got together with a bisexual, pregnant girl who they now had a built-in family, who, when confronted with the knowledge that Ellie was actually immune to the virus, was just like, ugh, I don't need to hear your problems. You need to listen to, like, me, because I'm, like, pregnant, and I've got, like, sickness, okay? I felt like I was watching a really bad, and trust me, I watch really bad, CW show. It was god-awful. And when it came out, rejected so. Initially, massive spike of sales, as expected, because too many normies don't follow this information. And then, huge drop-off in sales. Huge. To the point where it's almost getting none within a couple of months of release. Bye. Gone. The people had spoken, and the people had rejected this pathetic bubble, Hollywood bubble-esque bubble of activism shite. Joel murdered off within a couple of hours of the game. Gone. Done. See you later, Joel. See you later, Mr. Miller. Ellie couldn't carry the game to save her life, but that wasn't her fault. I mean, after all, she probably weighed about 90 pounds, which is more, makes it even weirder that, of course, Abby weighed about 256 pounds. Fucking muscle ripped! Not taking into account what it would take, how much calories would have to be consumed per day, how much work would have to put in per day to manage said body, but that didn't matter. Abby just wandered around. None of that. It was pathetic. And Neil Cuckman got mad, copyright struck my channel, copyright striked many other channels, as they didn't want the information to get out, but we wouldn't be silent. We wouldn't be silent, and we kept going. And so how did the game's media react to this rejection? They reacted by throwing meaningless trash at the game. If we throw enough awards at The Last of Us Part 2, then they'll say, oh my god, it's officially the bestest game ever. They'll have to accept it. No. We see right through you. No normie cares about any of these awards. And do you know who doesn't also care about any of these awards? Neil Cuckman. He'll go onto social media and he'll say, oh, thank you to Smash Hits for giving us your Game of the Year award 2020. And he'll say it and he'll do it void of any emotion or shits given, because he knows the divisive reaction that the game got. He knows that his tale of activist shite, of diversity and inclusion in a world where you're barely surviving, failed miserably because people saw how pathetic it would be to try and do that in an apocalyptic world. Oh, but it won a Metacritic poll as best game of the year. Did it? I guess it did, but this paints a different picture. And remember when Metacritic came along and ran interference? We gotta stop these negative scores coming in. Delete them, delete them, delete them, delete them. Companies that had received bad press suddenly turned around and were giving good press. And the one award that Cuckman wanted, the one award that he actually wanted, was the Players Award. Voted for by people like me and you. And he went to Twitter and he begged, I'm calling upon the Last of Us 2 army. I'm calling upon you to vote for our game, The Last of Us, to be the game of the year 2020. And when people saw his desperation, they were like, oh, there's a vote that we can participate in. Sure, Neil, we will vote for the game of the year for you. Thank you. Unfortunately, it's Ghost of Tsushima, which is 10 times your piece of shit will ever be. And the word of the people was the game of 2020 was Ghost of Tsushima. One award, one vote by people, and it was the only one that ever frickin' mattered to cuckers. And his shelves might be lined with plastic tat, and he knows that that's exactly what it is. They might say, Game of the Year 2020 Last of Us Part 2, and he knows how meaningless they are because they're just been given by the sycophantic gaming industry that will do anything, as Rackett said here in his tweet, to tell you that they hate you, the gamer. They hate you. They hate you for wanting fun adventure games. They hate you for wanting big guns and sexy women with big guns. Why not? They hate the fact that you can relate to some feudal Japanese story more than you could some SJW activist shite. Why did they reject our they them pronoun game? But they accept this feudal Japan. Because you could relate to what was going on in that. You could understand it because it wasn't fucking Hollywood shit. The only award that mattered out of the 576 Game of the Year awards that were up for grabs, there was only one award that really mattered. And those awards are what the people say. And what the people said was, nah. Nah. This is why more and more games media is going out of business. Because when you actively hate your customer base, because the games media customer base is us just as much as the games industry is. Because we're the ones who are meant to be tuning into their sites. And now they think the only way that they can get you to tune in is by putting hateful headlines up to get people mad so they can get them hate clicks, yo. But people just don't care anymore. Kotaku, Polygon, we laugh at them. They're a source of mockery. Mockery. Because there's no integrity there. So congratulations, The Last of Us Part 2. You have broken the worst Game of the Year record. And it couldn't go to a better guy in Neil Cuckman, and it couldn't go to a better studio in Naughty Dog. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.